So, this is a different type of video, but I think it's going to be very interesting. This is about one of my heroes, and some of the stuff that I want to tell you in this video, it'll absolutely blow your mind. So, when I was in prison, I read what's called an oral biography. So, my first introduction to an oral biography was guy named Chuck Palahniuk. His first book he ever wrote was Fight Club. Actually, chapter 6 of Fight Club was a short story that got so much attention. They were like, okay, we need to make this into a book. We'll pay you a whole bunch. That's how Fight Club, started. Was just from a short story that ultimately became chapter 6 of the book. But he wrote a book called Rant. The oral biography of Buster Casey, which that was the first oral biography I ever read, which it's fiction. It's a work of fiction, but it let me have a clue into how these things work. So what an oral biography is basically, imagine a giant book, and it starts at basically a birth. So if you were to have your aunts, uncles, and a number of other people go around and talk about stuff that happened when you were a newborn, and you give one page to your aunt, one page to your grandma, one page to your mom, and then progressively, as time goes on, years go on, you have a number of people talk about that have come into your lives as that time has gone on. That is what Gonzo, I believe, was the title of the book. An oral biography about Hunter S. Thompson, which about a quarter of the book, Jan Winter from Rolling Stone magazine, Hunter S. Thompson's pretty much like the reason they exist. I mean, for real, he's what made them who they are. But Johnny Depp made up probably about a quarter of that book, just telling different stories, and it pans back and forth between the people. But one of the things that I thought was the funniest was Johnny went to go meet Hunter, and he lives in Colorado, and there was I believe it was Owl Creek Diner or something of the sort, and he was in that diner waiting to meet Hunter, and he said in came this man with combat boots, shorts. Now it's freezing outside, and he's got this long jacket on. He's got his hat on and his sunglasses, and he's swinging a taser around his head, saying, "Get away from me, you swine!" And that was Hunter. That was how Johnny first met Hunter, and through Johnny, Hunter met Marilyn Manson. Something you might not know is that Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson are best friends. Johnny Depp has performed playing guitar at a number of his concerts. A lot of their mannerisms, almost this mumblese type talk. They talk like this, just kind of talking along in the type of talk that they do. It comes from Hunter. Johnny played Hunter in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That's where most people are going to know Hunter from. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That was one of his books that he wrote. But his first book that really gained traction was Hell's Angels. He hung out with them for a number of months, like almost a year. He had a falling out with him too. According to who you ask, Sonny Barger said that basically Hunter was supposed to pay so many kegs of beer for doing it. He didn't do it. And if you asked Hunter, and according to this oral biography, he basically stood up for somebody who was a relative, like an old lady, I guess you'd say, of somebody that was in the club, which, in that type of life, not to speak on anything like that, but, it sounded like that type of an issue. It sounded like Hunter got his ass whooped. It sounded like he got his ass stoned. But anyhow, back to Marilyn Manson. Johnny Depp, Marilyn Manson, Hunter S. Thompson, he was having issues with his wife, Hunter was, and he went to Marilyn Manson's house, and apparently Hunter could swim like a shark. Like, it was a sight to see. Like, he really was, avid swimmer, even in his older age. And his first conversation with Marilyn Manson was, well, first off, Marilyn Manson had a giant pool that was heated, as hot as a hot tub, but it's the pool. It's the regular pool, but it's heated that hot. I believe "Tainted Love," the music video Marilyn Manson has, that's his actual pool. Well, Hunter says something about I heard you got a hot pool, hot steaming hot pool. I need somewhere to soak my chrysalis muscle. It's an odd fucking thing to say. And Marilyn Manson asked him, is it going to metamorphosize into a butterfly of some sort? And Hunter laughed his ass off. And from that on, they were friends. But Johnny Depp and him were the ones who had the really interesting friendship. He lived with Hunter, and one of the things was a test of sorts. Hunter loved to shoot guns. So in his backyard, he had set up a propane canister that was probably about 20 feet away, and he had like some type of like a blasting cap or something attached to it to see if Johnny Depp was actually going to do it. And he did it, and it blew up, and that was one of the tests. But another thing was Johnny Depp actually lived with him for a number of months, and during this time, Johnny Depp's in the basement of the house, ashing his cigarette on top of this barrel, and he says, wait, it couldn't be. And he runs upstairs and he asks, Hunter, that barrel downstairs, that's not what I think it is. Oh, yeah, my bad. It was a barrel of gunpowder. Johnny Depp was in Hunter S. Thompson's basement smoking cigarettes with a glass, with an ashtray, ashing his cigarette on top of a barrel of fucking gunpowder. I mean, this is pretty incredible stuff. One of the funniest things that I read from the book was that, Hunter was assigned basically a babysitter from Rolling Stone. They had a number of tasks, from learning how to carefully wrap clothes around his coke so then it could make it through TSA in the airport so it could get from place to place. I don't know how they never got caught for that. Yeah. But apparently there was some big charity thing where Yoko Ono was present, and Hunter was just blasted out of his mind, and he decided he was going to sit down Indian style on the ground. And he had a plastic weed grinder, the weed grinders, little circular grinders. And he kept his cocaine in that, and he grinded up, and he was going to cut himself up a line. Well, his assistant walked over to him, and the assistant it's a great book, Gonzo, oral biography of Hunter S. Thompson. Jan Winter from Rolling Stone. It's an incredible book. But anyway, the guy who has been assigned as his assistant walks in and he's like, Hunter, and he's just sitting Indian style on the floor with this plastic coke grinder cutting himself up a line. He's like, Hunter, people are watching. He said he punched him. He gave him a dead leg. Like, say, he punched the shit out of him. Punched him in his thigh as hard as he could. He said, shield me, goddammit. As if people couldn't fucking see. He's cutting up a line, sitting in the floor, sitting Indian style. But anyhow, anybody who's played Hunter S. Thompson in a movie, like Bill Murray, Where the Buffalo Roam, Johnny Depp, Rum Diary, and Johnny Depp did it the best. Without question. And in the book, even his relatives, give praise to him for that. But kind of like the Joker, that's something that they say Anybody that plays the Joker, it's been a lasting mental thing to the actors that have played it. Same with Hunter. Anybody that played Hunter in a movie, it was a lasting thing. There are very few interviews that he would have, and Conan O'Brien specifically begged him for an interview, and he was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going out there, because that's one of the things I identify with him. He's a recluse. He was a recluse. He's an incredible recluse who just did his own thing, didn't care for people, and just lived as a recluse, and as do I. And he said, okay, I'll do an interview with you, but on the condition that, you come to where I live, come to my house, to shoot machine guns and drink liquor. And it's an incredible interview. If you search it here on YouTube, you're watching me. So, I mean, it's a click away. That's one of the things. We've got a computer in our pockets, and literally to be that apathetic to where you do not click the search button. Hunter S. Thompson, Conan O'Brien. Just look it up. It's worth it. And Jan Winter, basically, one of the founders of Rolling Stone magazine, was over at his place, and Hunter sat on the floor, and he's like, Hunter, what the hell's wrong with you? I think he dropped a glass or something, and he's throwing his fit like a child, and he goes, oh, pick it up. And he said he grinned and he said, I pay them so much. And then sure enough, his two assistants that I'm sure he paid a lot to deal with him around the clock show up and they're like, Hunter, what did you do? And they pick it up, and then here he's grinning like a big ass child. He's basically a big ass child. I mean, somebody can't speak on enough. But anyway, his funeral, Johnny Depp took charge of his funeral, and Johnny Depp spent $3 million having this cannon. I can't remember how many feet it was. It was a huge cannon. I'll probably put it up in the thumbnail of the actual cannon. That it was a private ceremony, but Johnny Depp spent $3 million of his own money to hold his funeral. I mean, this is a guy that's a legend, a national icon. Rolling Stone magazine was built on this man's back, and one of the best writers, whether it be news, political, whatever, gonzo journalism as it's called, is based off of him. And the cannon actually has his logo, which is, it's a hand, but the hand has two thumbs. So imagine a second thumb, and then in the middle it's clutching a peyote button, which is, a psychedelic. Hunter, there's something else. He despised opiates, as do I. Terrible. Destroyed the country, basically. But, in terms of psychedelics and things of that nature, he was quite a fan. I think those can have their merit in helping people. They've certainly helped me. And, sometimes they put you in weird places. Sometimes they put you in places that are very uncomfortable. Places you'd prefer, never go. But they open up certain parts of the brain in which it's like having 10 years of therapy all at once. For me personally, I spoke on having sleep issues and the terrible dreams and things of that nature. For the most part, I can say they work. Just leave it at that. Yeah. So anyway, figured be some funny stories just thinking about this. But I've reread this book probably countless times whenever I did time in solitary confinement in prison, and also just because I enjoyed it throughout the time I was in prison. It was that good of a book. I've probably read the book 8 times, start to finish. And figured I'd share a little bit about that with y'all. So Anyway, I know it's a little bit fucking different, so if you liked it, press the like button. If not, then you can eat shit and fucking die. I don't give a shit. If you don't like it, if you're here and you don't like it, I mean, chances are you watch my other channel, okay? This is where I talk about a little bit different shit, so you know. And the other channel, I am going to be sympathetic, and I'm going to be, you know, really go out of my way to help. But, like, this is the channel that I just get to be as is. So, anyway, I do hope you like this video. That's all.